Back on March 14th, 2026, we attended the Michigan is Dead Horror Convention and Tape Swap hosted by Static Tape Video in Muskegon, Michigan. So I'm going to run off at the mouth a little bit talking about the horror convention, Static Tape Video, and some of the goodies that I picked up. Now unfortunately, I did not get a ton of video footage of the horror convention or Static Tape Video because, get this, I was actually enjoying the convention. So I'm going to have to borrow some footage from YouTubers like Killer Pizza and Comics, Beer, and Sci-Fi. So the con itself was actually pretty nifty-tifty. It was packed to the brim with people, and there were a ton of VHS tapes and random horror items for sale. Now to be honest, there really isn't much to say about the convention itself. It was basically just a bunch of vendors selling goodies. They even had celebrity guests, which was pretty awesome. They had Cynthia Rothrock, who is famous for playing in martial arts movies and is, in fact, a martial artist. They also had Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy the Mail Girl, which was pretty much perfect timing since they just got released from hosting their show, The Last Drive-In, which has been making headlines. But I was there for the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Michael Barryman. I'm familiar with him from Weird Science and, of course, the greatest film of all time, Double Dragon, so I was pretty excited to meet him. And as far as Static Tape Video goes, well, for starters, I have never seen that many VHS tapes in one area. The footage and pictures don't really do it justice. You have to be there in person to see it. There's an entire section of $1 VHS tapes, and all the tapes are double stacked, so you have tapes in front of other tapes, which is crazy to see. And usually when I go tape hunting, I look for all the sleazy, cheesy, schlocky, horror, weird exploitation, and just really strange, weird stuff from the 1980s and what have you. But it is extremely rare for me to find stuff like that out and about in the wild. Usually I only find a small little section of VHS tapes, mostly filled with movies like When Harry Met Sally, and Titanic, and millions of Disney movies.
But at Static Tape Video,
everywhere you looked, it was the schlocky, crazy horror. And actually, it was almost overwhelming. You see, at a thrift store, I can quickly browse through all the films, and only certain ones will stick out to me. At Static Tape Video, however, almost every single film stuck out to me because they were basically the crazy horror movies. And not only did he have an entire wall of these horror films, but then he had separate sections also dedicated to horror. And then of course he had walls of DVDs, Blu-rays, steelbooks, and TV shows. Now one piece of advice I will give if you plan on making a trip over there is make sure you show up with a plan and a list of things that you're looking for. Otherwise, when you go in there, you're pretty much going to feel totally and completely overwhelmed and not even know where to begin to even look. I guarantee there were films there that I wanted and just completely blanked out because I was too overwhelmed by the amount of awesomeness in that store. Now because it is a mom and pop brick and mortar store, you are going to pay a little bit more money for the goodies. However, at least you do know what you are getting.
And the owner Harrison really knows his stuff.
Keisha and I asked him about 2 specific movies and he instantly knew where they were. And it blew my mind because one of them was a pretty rare and hard to find VHS tape. And not only do they have VHS tapes, but they also have boutique labels such as Vinegar Syndrome, Arrow Video, the Criterion Collection, and stuff like that. And to top it off, his place is so big, he even has a record store connected right next to the video store, where he also sells music, CDs, albums, and even video games. Alright, so now it's time to yak about the actual goodies that I picked up. Now just so you know, only 2 of these films I've actually seen. The rest, I've never watched once in my entire life. First up, I got some movies from indie filmmakers based out of Michigan. I grabbed a double feature which has both Peggy and What Happens After the Massacre. After I grabbed both the VHS and DVD, we talked for a while, and the dude threw in a t-shirt and a couple of stickers, which is pretty awesome. Apparently one's about a cleaning crew that goes in after the murders and massacres occur and clean up all the nonsense. I've never seen it before, but it does sound like a pretty cool concept. And Peggy is basically a revenge film where some woman just takes revenge on people. Then I ended up snagging a black and white, but also color, VHS from Tim Wallach called Princess Spooky and Industrial Fantasy. Okay. Apparently it's about Princess Spooky who gets superpowers, has a missing dad, there's a fortune teller and a nuclear power facility, and even Officer Triclops. I definitely can't wait to check that one out. And finally, I got So Fades the Light on both VHS and Blu-ray, and it even came with a free little magazine. This one actually involves Christian extremism with guns and a cult and stuff like that. Which I'm not really a fan of political movies or anything like that, but I figured I'd give this one a shot. Now the VHS is a little wonky. It doesn't quite fit correctly in the slipcover, and they even glued the top flap closed, which is weird to me. That's pretty doggone sloppy for being at a tape swap in a convention. Come on now. Now even though it was a tape swap, and I was there for the VHS, I did end up picking up some DVDs. I know. First up is Dead Sea. I only grabbed this because the guy said it was an extremely bad movie, and he wouldn't stop talking about how bad it was. And apparently it takes place in the desert the whole time. Next up is Jennifer. I don't know, I just thought the cover looked interesting, so I grabbed it. Next up is Lust for Dracula. I think it's basically supposed to be like a smut version of Dracula. Apparently Mina Harker and Jonathan Harker live in the Hollywood Hills and stuff like that, and it even has Van Helsing in here. And it's from Shockorama Cinema. Ooh! What's pretty cool is that it also has 2 short films in here, Head Cheese and Lost Face. And finally we have Silent Night, Bloody Night. Once again, I was just pulled in by the cover art. I always like the weird grindhouse style looks of some of these films. Once again, I'd never seen or heard of any of these movies, but they were cheap enough, so I decided to grab them. So now is a movie that I used to own as a kid, and that movie is The Fear. This one is actually a screener copy, which was a tape that they would send out to video rental stores and stuff like that, and it was not really meant for sale. This movie is basically about a wooden mannequin that preys upon your actual fears. And then I found The Unholy. The only reason why I got this one was because I remember them playing a preview for it on my VHS copy of The Monster Squad. I always remember watching it and thought it looked really scary as a kid. Especially compared to the movie The Monster Squad, which really wasn't that scary. But I've been wanting that for quite a while now, and I am really glad that I found it. Next up are the goodies from Static Tape Video. First I grabbed The Mummy's Tomb because Keisha and I have been on a Universal Monsters kick from the fancy Blu-ray collection we got. So whenever I find Universal Monster films on VHS, I generally try to pick them up. Next is Brainwaves. Now really the only reason why I bought this one was because I saw that it was distributed by Embassy Home Entertainment. And I don't really own much horror from them. Once again, just another blind buy. Next up is Corpse Vanishes, or The Corpse Vanishes. Once again, it was another blind buy, but the story itself did sound pretty interesting. Like if Dr. Frankenstein, instead of stealing bodies to make a monster, he steals bodies to make his wife pretty. And last but certainly not least are my boys, Abbott and Costello. I grew up watching them all the time and absolutely loved their stuff. I've never owned this before, so I figured I would grab it for my collection. Now I do own Africa Screams and Jack and the Beanstalk, but I've never seen the other 3. So I definitely cannot wait to check that out. Oh yeah, Keisha also got me movie posters for Fright Night and The Monster Squad, which is absolutely awesome. Alrighty, and now, time for the good stuff. First up, BAM! A big box VHS of thriller video Dead of Night hosted by Elvira. This was actually a surprise gift from Keisha, because she knows I've been a fan of Elvira ever since I was a little kid. Now, the first time I ever saw Elvira was from the Thriller video of Turn of the Screw. So when Keisha found this, it just blew my mind, and I was extremely happy to finally get some more Elvira movies in my collection, and big box ones too. And then later on, I ended up finding this one, the 13th Reunion. So I'm getting there with my Elvira Thriller video collection, slowly but surely. Now, you remember earlier on when I said that Harrison found 2 movies that Keisha and I were both looking for? Well, finally, here we are. First up for Keisha was the movie Tombstone. She had been wanting to watch this for a long time, but wasn't able to find it on any streaming platform. Thank goodness for physical media, huh? And finally, that good old VHS that I'd been looking for is none other than Bloodhook. The reason why I wanted it so bad was because it was filmed in Hayward, Wisconsin. Yes, that Hayward, which is insane. Number one, it's the closest town to where I live, so basically a movie filmed in my quote-unquote hometown. And number two, Hayward, back then at least, was a rinky-dink little lumber town. Nowadays it's a tourist trap, but really only because people come up to enjoy the North Woods and go fishing and stuff. So there really is no reason for a film company to spot Hayward and say, hey, why not? Let's go film there. And saving the best for last was the man, the myth, the legend, meeting Michael Barryman. We got ourselves a family photo, little dude included, unconscious, but there nonetheless. And then I even got a selfie with him later on. I'm sitting there pointing at him like, yeah, look at this guy. Then out of my peripheral vision, I caught that he was actually going in for a fist bump. So I tucked in my finger and went in for the bump. What a cool dude. Then I had him sign a magazine that Keisha got for me for him to sign. But of course I had to have him sign a childhood VHS tape for me. And that was good old Double Dragon. So there you go, that was the Michigan is Dead HorrorCon and Tape Swap hosted by Static Tape Video in Muskegon, Michigan. If you're around the area, I guarantee you would definitely have a blast going over there and checking out all the stuff that Static Tape Video has to offer. And the HorrorCon definitely had some pretty awesome stuff. There were a few things I missed out on. There was this awesome big box VHS copy of Hawk the Slayer, which I wanted to buy. However, I had to go and do something else, and by the time I was done fooling around and came back, gone. Just gone. Somebody already snatched it up. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. This is where fear of missing out comes into play. FOMO. Should have grabbed it. Just wee in my pants. Just whiz my pants and don't even bother going and taking care of business. Just walk around with a big stain in my pants so I can get Hawk the Slayer on big box VHS. But otherwise, Static Tape Video was awesome, as well as the Michigan is Dead HorrorCon and Tape Swap. And I definitely recommend going. Well, with that being said, I think I'm gonna skedaddle. So whatever, I'm Janitor Jake, and I will see you guys next time. Oh yeah, before I forget, we also got these 2 monster figurines that make a bunch of racket and some really cool 3D Monster Mask poster thingamabobs.